Hey friends, welcome back to another live stream today. Glad to have you here because we are going to be talking all about selling with soul. So we know on social media, people are not there to be sold to. So oftentimes we want to make sure that our sales on social media, converting our followers into actual people who are buying and becoming people who are going to be raving fans about our products or services. This is actually built up over time by sharing the values, the mission, and essentially the soul of your business. So we'll go over some tips today. If you're in a hurry and you're just streaming on by, there's actually a swipe file that's linked in the description of this video. So I go ahead and get that swipe file. It has a bunch of different posts that MeetEdgar has created for sales over the last few years, and we explain essentially why we did it that way. So go ahead and check that out. But essentially, your soul is your story, and you want to make sure you're getting your story out there because that's how people actually remember things in life. They create a narrative in their head about who you are, where you came from, where you're going. That's essentially a story. So you want to make sure your soul and your story is showing up on social media so people remember you and you stay top of mind when it comes time for them to need your product or service. You are the go-to person. That's the ultimate goal with that. But when it comes down to it, selling with soul, that's something that we often forget about doing, and we kind of become blabbery and we're just like, buy my product. So we're going to go over a few things that can really help you define the soul of your business and how to get it out there online. Because it's these things that are so simple like this that end up being the hardest for us sometimes. Like, it should be really easy to tell our own stories and to sell with those stories, but oftentimes we kind of forget those stories. I kind of like comparing this to like when someone asks you what your favorite song or what your favorite movie is, you know it. You could probably come up with like 10 different songs that you could say and it would be pretty relevant. But if someone asks that question, it's just like all of a sudden you can remember 0 songs that were ever written and you've ever heard, right? It's kind of like that. So if you're not clear and you haven't practiced these things about what your story that you share to the world on social media is, often if someone asks you about it or if they ask what you do, you're just going to start to be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And you're just going to say something like, hey, I work in an online business, rather than taking that opportunity to connect with someone and say, hey, I help XYZ achieve their dreams through my product or service. We always want to make sure that it is our default to tell people what we do, whether it's networking online or in real person, by positioning it as a story that you help that person do something. So this is essentially putting the person who you help, your ideal client, in the center of everything that you are putting out online. And things start to come across much better and they can see how they fit into the story of your product or your service. So don't overcomplicate things. Don't make sure that you're getting out there all the time. When you're selling on social media, overcompensating almost in the fact that you feel like you're having to use all these jargony words that you see other people use, or use these templates that you see set up for Instagram stories all the time. If your story doesn't fit into these sort of guidelines, these jargony words, don't use them. People are smart out there. They can sniff out when they're being sold to, and you don't want your brand to be that sort of brand online. You want it to be genuinely connecting people. So think about some powerful words that aren't necessarily going to be used by others in your industry. If you can think of powerful words that put people in the center of your story and that put people where they want to be in their life that aren't used by everyone else, you're going to do much better there. And when it comes to developing your own story and making sure that it fits into a way that it's selling your products or services on social media, you want to do it with your own words, and you want to give people permission to be powerful in their own life as well. So I feel like it's one of the hardest parts of sales, right? Making sure that humans actually are taking the time to make a decision that you're the right product for them. As humans, we don't love making decisions. It's something that everyone struggles with. So the easier you can make it for someone to decide your story and to decide they fit into your story and can see themselves in your story, the easier it is that decision to actually purchase from you will be. So make it easier for people to decide by just getting out there and sharing truthfully, and they can see if they resonate or not. So here are some tips on how to actually do that. Make sure you're being super duper specific. If you help people, let's say, like increase their income, just don't say, hey, this is a service that you can sign up for to increase your income. Be specific. What's the average amount that people increase their income with after they work with you? For example, at MeetEdgar, we're a social media automation tool. We're not just going to say we save you time. We want to say we save you 8 hours a week on social media when you use our software. This is an average we've collected after we talk to our followers about how much time they feel like they're saving, or excuse me, our community members on social media. Using that number is so much stronger. Our brains want specificity. It is truly the best way for you to make sure that your followers are clear on the outcome they're going to get after they are converting to being an actual paying member. So make sure that you're doing that. Look for things that are really measurable. Ask yourself after you write your posts, is there a way that I can ask a question that results in a number to answer, right? So am I asking a question like how much, or anything that you could actually put a little bit more detail in there? Look at your post that way. Do a little audit of your promotional posts and of your branding and see if you can get a little more specific with it there. You also want to make sure that you're really getting the future self of your ideal client excited. So what that means is everyone is either trying to avoid pain or increase their pleasure when they're trying to make that decision to purchase from you. So you want to make sure that the future self is going to see the story and the narrative of what their life could be in those terms. So make sure that you're positioning your product or service as something helpful, that they're actually going to be able to get to the desired reality they want in the future. Manage those expectations ahead of time. Play it up, a year out. Be like, hey, this is what your life will look like a year out after you purchase from me. If you don't have that in your head of all of the ways your product or service will impact someone's life for the better, a year after they purchase from you, make sure you write that down and get really clear how you can weave that into your storyline. Same with avoiding pain. Go ahead and play it out to the fact that, if they do not purchase from you, what pain are they going to get? Let's take a real life example from MeetEdgar. If you don't purchase our social media automation software, we know you're still going to be overwhelmed, feeling like you're having to babysit your social media feeds a year from now, and you're going to lose the opportunity to actually work on other areas of your business because you were having to spend so much time there and you didn't have a system, right? So those other areas of your business are not going to grow as fast. So it's thinking about that in a holistic view. So sit down, journal it out in your actual words in the context of your product or service, how people's lives are going to improve in the future, how people's lives are going to be worse in the future if they do or do not purchase from you. All right, next with selling with a soul is making sure that you really put your values and the causes you believe in out there. So if you're someone who's really thinking and having an opinion about something going on in the world, go ahead and share it. If you donate to a charitable cause, share that with your followers. Those are awesome social media posts to share, and it aligns people's values with the brands they're purchasing from, which is more and more what people want. We want to make sure we're purchasing and putting our money where our values and where we want to see the world go. And that is what comes down to, companies like Patagonia who give back to nature. If you're someone who loves nature and wants to protect the rainforest, and they say, every dollar of this sale is going to that, you're going to be more likely to purchase, right? That's the whole foundation of like Tom's, the shoe company, that if you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes away. They do this truly because it makes sure that they're bonding an actual mission behind their product and service, and people love that. So even if you're not a mission-based product or service, if you do something charitable, like go out and volunteer for something like Wheels on Meals or whatever, share that on your social media. It's going to align the causes that you care about. And if your followers care about those same causes, it really is a true way to sell with soul. In the way you're saying, hey, when you give your money to our company, this is the mission that we have in life. And truly, that's all money is, right? It's a story about using it for ways that you want to actually produce something different in your life. So those things that you do in your business do truly matter. So if you donate to a charity, for example, MeetEdgar just donated $10,000 to different causes for the Black Lives Matter movement. And we put that out on social media because we're really proud of that. And we're really excited to help that cause. So if you do something like this, please go ahead and put it out there. It does really help with making sure that you're finding the right people who align with your company values. And it just makes it more fun to work with people in that way. You also really want to make sure that you are humanizing your company when you're trying to sell with soul on social media. So if you have a team, make sure your team's face businesses show up. We're actually getting ready to launch a really exciting feature here at MeetEdgar. And we did a video with our product team who actually built that feature to interview our product manager, asking him, hey, what were some of the complications while building this feature? What are some of the things to consider? Why are you excited about our users getting this? And we'll launch that video when we're ready to launch the feature. And it'll be really exciting to get that behind the scenes content as a reminder, hey, there's real people who go ahead and build this software. So do you have something like that with that behind the scenes content that you could actually share in a way that's connecting people a little bit deeper to your entire company structure? It does really help. Again, the soul of your business is made up of everyone who participates in it there. So, if you started and you're still a solopreneur, but perhaps, your mom is helping you with your bookkeeping or something like that, share that story. It is a great way to humanize your brand, and it's a great way to bring people into your business. And that does really give your business quite a bit of soul, if you ask me about. All right. So next, given the chance to tell your story, really, you want to make sure that you're thinking of it in terms of like a cover letter. I almost think this is a really great analogy here. If you're applying for a job, you're going to write a cover letter to the person you're applying for. So when you do this, you actually write in terms of wanting that specific job, right, at that specific company. If you are a hiring manager and you get a cover letter that's just super generic and you can tell they're blasting it out to like 10 different places, it's likely you're not actually going to take that person too seriously. Same with your social media posts to your followers. You want to make sure that that specific post is written for that person, not just the generic community in general. So you want to write about specific things that your followers really want because you want that follower. Same with your cover letter. You want that job, not any job. You want that follower. You want that follower to convert because it will go ahead and help their life by purchasing your product or your service. Cool. So you can do this really by making sure that you do the research of your ideal customer avatar and use the language that they use to describe their pain point and reflect back to them. Make sure they feel seen and heard in that way. You can also do this in a way that you're just sharing other random skills that you have. I like to think about it in this way. If you can actually solve someone's smaller problems for free with random skills that you've collected over the years and act as a mentor for people on social media, it's much more likely they're going to be super stoked to actually purchase from you and actually pay for you to solve their bigger problems. So what small problems do you actually have a really great talent in solving for people? Go out and ask your friends and family, what do you think of me as? Why am I like your go-to person? If you have a problem and you need to have someone solve that problem for you, what would you think of me in that way? If you get some really good common answers, go ahead and share that with your community and share that advice with your community to help them solve those smaller problems so they're excited about paying you to solve their larger problems. Cool. So be transparent as well. If you're trying to get some sales going with Soul, we have to make sure that we're being super transparent about everything in our business. I truly think that's the way all businesses are going. And it kind of aligns with the fact that you want to make sure people understand your values and your mission, like we were speaking to before. One example of this is, don't hide any sort of features or anything like that. Explain to people in a really easy way. Don't use jargon that comes up over and over again, but people just want to be talking like they're talking to a normal person. And they want to do business with people they like. For example, we here at MeetEdgar have an Instagram integration, but it's done with push notifications. A lot of time people ask why we don't have a direct push, a direct Instagram connection. And we just simply tell them, Instagram has a closed API. We have our application in for direct posting to Instagram, but they do have to approve us and open it up for that. So in the meantime, this is how you can actually use our push notification system to batch your Instagram content and make sure that you're really staying systemized and consistent for your followers in that way. And then oftentimes we'll even bring our community in with this transparency and say, we're actually struggling to get a hold of Instagram. Do you have anyone in your community who there to get an idea of if this is going to happen at any time? So if you can create these connections with people in a real transparent way, it makes having these conversations a lot more fun. And we find our community, if they can help in any way, always loves to help. So how can you do that with your community? Can you actually ask people and not deprive them of the opportunity to help you? You know how good it feels when you help someone, right? So I think it's always funny when we flip it around, we don't want to ask for help from other people. But when we think about it, we're actually then depriving people of that awesome feeling of getting to help someone. So ask your community, be transparent with what's going on, and help them actually drive your product and business and services forward in the direction that they want to go. If they're helping you actually build the community, build the content, build the product in that direction, it's much more likely they're going to purchase from you, and it's much more likely they're going to sing your praises out to their friends and family. Cool. So transparency, transparency, asking for help. All right. So next, I really want you to think about, what are your followers most proud of in life? So this is something I think adds a ton of soul to your stories, is if you can really make sure that you know that your followers feel like you see them. So go onto some of your followers' pages, look around a little bit about the things that they share, because we share things on social media that we're really proud and excited about most of the time. That's what your feed is pretty much made out of, same as your followers. So go on there and see what really drives them to post on social media, because those are some of the best insights you have into what excites them, what makes them really proud, what makes them actually identify with saying, ooh, I want my community to know this about me. They want you to know that about them too. You want to build a business that is full of passion, and you want those people who need your product or service to feel like they're excited to purchase from you, because you see and you hear them and you understand their deepest desires of avoiding pain and increasing pleasure. And social media is a great way to see that in people. So go ahead and make sure you're spending time on their profiles so that you can reflect back to them what they're excited about. So if you see a lot of people, posting things like, we work with a lot of freelancers and solopreneurs, and a lot of people start their businesses in this idea that they want more freedom, right? They don't want the 9 to 5 to just sit there. And if we go onto their pages, we'll see a lot of people reflecting these things of the laptop lifestyle, or getting your clients so that you can actually go and have a bigger Christmas this year, or go on a bigger vacation or something like that, right? So those are the things we know that are driving people to reach their goals. So then in our marketing, we can actually take that information and actually be able to reflect back to their future self that we were talking about. Like, hey, using MeetEdgar gives you more freedom so that you can go on a longer vacation, or so that you can work with your dream clients and stuff like that. So again, bringing their hopes and desires back into your marketing strategy. Cool. So I really want you to also think about things, all of this really going back to the fact that your ideal client does shape your message. If your ideal client is not shaping every single marketing message that goes out, you're probably not hitting them in a way that's resonating as deeply as it could. So really make sure that you're taking the approach of, if you wanted to go onto their social profiles in the same way that you would stalk your middle school best friend who you've lost touch with, do it that way. Make it fun for yourself. Make a little game out of it, but be consistent with doing this once in a while so you stay in touch with your community. Cool. And make sure really that when you're thinking about this, make sure you tell them, why they're super awesome. If you go onto someone's page and you see something that connects with you, DM them. Use this time not only to shape your ideal persona, but also to make these one-on-one connections. I talk about this a lot, and I think it's something that we can all find 20 minutes on our day to do, but so often we don't, because we're like, that's not going to make a difference. But even if you get one person to connect with you, that makes a huge difference. So go out there as you're doing your persona research, make a goal for yourself to DM 5 people a day for a week and see how that really does help you. And if you really are doing this well, you'll see how the value you can bring to people shifts once you get to know them in that intimate way. And remember, people really want to work with people that they like. It's all a part of that know, like, and trust that we talk about on social media. We don't want to work with companies just to get a result. Our lives are spent a lot at work, right? There's no avoiding that. Most of us spend the majority of our day at work. So why wouldn't we want to work with others, like contractors who we're working with, or, services we're working with who we actually like in that way? So make sure you're putting that stuff out there that you do feel connects and likes you, and gets people to like you in that way. Cool. So make sure that you take these things into account. I know they're kind of sometimes a little bit more, out there in this way. You are not going to be sitting down and doing tangible things with it, but make sure you think about these things of putting your soul into your business so that your sales come across really well. Cool. Thanks for tuning in today. Get the swipe file. It's in the description of the video. It's got a lot of our posts that we've done at MeetEdgar. And it really is, I think, a great way to get some ideas of how you can sell and feel really good about it. Awesome, guys. I'll see you soon.